What if I told you that the reason most people stay poor has nothing to do with how much they earn, but with a hidden trap inside every paycheck? The shocking truth could change the way you see money forever. Have you ever stopped for a moment and realized that the money you receive every month might not be what you think it is? Most people see their salary as a ceiling, a final limit that dictates how far they can go in life. They look at their paycheck, sigh, and say, "This is all I have. I just need to stretch it until the next one comes." But what if I told you that this belief is not only wrong, it's dangerous? What if your salary isn't a ceiling at all, but a doorway? A doorway that could lead you either to a lifetime of struggle or to freedom, wealth, and independence. Think about it this way. Imagine a bricklayer who receives a truck full of bricks. A foolish man would say, "This is all I've got. I need to make these bricks last as long as possible." So he hides them, uses them one by one, and eventually runs out. Nothing is built, nothing remains. But a wise man looks at those same bricks and sees something else, raw material for a house. He understands that if he places them strategically, if he uses them with vision, he can build something far greater than the sum of its parts. Now here's the shock. Your salary is those bricks. Most people waste it, scatter it, consume it until nothing is left. But those who know how to use it strategically, they build empires. This is where the great mistake lies. People live there. Entire lives chained to the idea that money is only meant to be spent. Work, earn, pay bills, repeat. That cycle is the silent prison of the modern world. And if you are stuck in it, you will never escape. The tragedy is not how much you earn. It's how you think about what you earn. If you believe your paycheck exists only to cover today, you are doomed to remain in survival mode. But if you shift your mindset, you dare to ask, "What can I do with this money to create a better future?" Then suddenly, the same number that once felt like a chain becomes your first weapon of freedom. It's shocking, isn't it? That two people can earn the same amount of money, and yet their destinies are worlds apart. One ends up drowning in debt, bitterness, and wasted years. The other, slowly, quietly, builds wealth, security, and choices. It is not luck. It is not chance. It is the way they see their salary. The secret that nobody teaches you in school, and almost nobody tells you in real life, is that your paycheck is not meant to be consumed, meant to be transformed. Every paycheck you ever receive contains hidden seeds, seeds of opportunity, seeds of independence. But like the farmer who eats all his seeds and has nothing left to plant, most people devour them all before the next harvest. And then they wonder why they remain poor. Let me ask you this. What would happen if, starting from your very next paycheck, you decided that not all of it belongs to your bills? What if a portion of it was dedicated to building your future, no matter how small? Even a single seed planted today, repeated over time, becomes a forest. Yet most people never plant even one. They tell themselves lies. "I'll save when I earn more. I'll invest when I get that raise. I'll start later," but later never comes. Because when the paycheck grows, so do the temptations. That simple phone becomes an expensive upgrade. That homemade lunch becomes eating out every day. The more they earn, the more they consume, until they are trapped in a bucket with a hole at the bottom pouring in more water, but never filling it. The truth is brutal. Your salary can either chain you or free you. The choice is yours. And once you understand that it is not a limit, but a tool, the way you use it will never be the same again. This is the first step on the road to wealth, no matter how little you currently earn. If this shocks you, good, because it should. It's the wake-up call that separates those who will remain trapped from those who will rise. If you want more eye-opening lessons like this, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Your support is what keeps us motivated to bring you the kind of content that can change lives. Don't just watch, join this journey, and let's grow together. And now, let me leave you with a question to spark your thinking. Comment your answer below and be honest with yourself. Question: which mindset do you find yourself closer to today? A. My salary is something to spend, survive, and then wait for the next one. B. My salary is raw material, a tool I can use to create something bigger. Type your answer A or B in the comments. Your choice might reveal more about your financial future than you realize. Most people believe that the reason they can't save money is because they don't earn enough. But let's be brutally honest. The problem isn't always income, it's management. It's the quiet habits, the daily decisions, the way you treat every paycheck that flows through your hands. Have you ever noticed that when someone gets a raise, their lifestyle almost immediately inflates to match? What used to feel unnecessary suddenly becomes essential. The old phone that worked just fine is replaced with the newest model. Eating at home is no longer acceptable when restaurants are just a step away. The cycle continues endlessly. Earn more, spend more, and somehow, at the end of the month, nothing remains. This is the silent trap that keeps people enslaved, no matter how much their income grows. The truth is simple but uncomfortable. Wealth is not created by how much you make, but by how much you keep. Imagine pouring water into a bucket with a hole at the bottom. No matter how much you pour, the bucket will never fill. This is exactly what happens when you spend every dollar you earn. You are leaking your future through that hole, month after month, year after year. The way to fix it is not to pour faster, but to seal the hole. That means creating a lifestyle that is deliberately, intentionally below your income. Living below your means doesn't mean deprivation. It doesn't mean living a life of scarcity, denying yourself every joy. On the contrary, it is about creating control and freedom. When you choose to spend less than you earn, you give yourself margin, space to breathe, to plan, to grow. This margin is the soil where financial freedom takes root. It is the difference between always running on the edge of survival and having the power to direct your money toward things that truly matter. But how do you take control when expenses feel overwhelming? The answer is structure. Without a plan, money disappears like smoke. That is why building a simple, practical budget is the most powerful step you can take. Think of your income like a cake. You cut it randomly, grabbing pieces without thought. You'll run out before everyone is eaten. But if you slice it carefully, intentionally, you can make sure every person at the table receives what they need. A budget works the same way. It ensures that your money is distributed in a way that serves your life rather than sabotages it. One of the most effective approaches is the 50-30-20 principle. It's not a rigid law, but a framework that guides you. 50% of your income should go to basic needs: rent, food, utilities, transportation. These are the non-negotiables that keep you alive. 30% can be dedicated to quality of life: dining out, hobbies, entertainment, travel, things that bring joy and richness to your days. And the remaining 20% must be directed toward investments and savings. This final portion is not a luxury. It is the seed that ensures your tomorrow will be better than today. Of course, life is not always so perfectly divided. For some, basic expenses consume more than half. For others, their situation allows them to invest more than 20%. What matters is not the exact numbers, but the discipline of creating categories and respecting them. Even if your current situation only allows you to set aside a small amount, the act of intentionally allocating money builds awareness. It forces you to ask, where is my money going? Is it serving me, or am I serving it? And this awareness leads to another crucial principle: resisting impulsive spending. So often, we buy things not out of need but out of desire. out of a fleeting emotion. The rush of swiping a card feels exciting in the moment, but the regret that follows is far heavier. Ask yourself before every purchase, do I really need this? If I walk away today and don't buy it, will my life truly suffer? Could this money serve me better if it were invested, saved, or used to build something lasting? When you begin to ask these questions consistently, you begin to break free from the chains of consumer culture. The key to controlling expenses is not to eliminate joy, but to prioritize wisely. True freedom is not found in buying everything you want today. True freedom is knowing that you are building a future where you can have both security and enjoyment. Every dollar you choose not to waste is a dollar that can be planted for growth. And with every wise decision, you are silently, powerfully breaking the cycle that has trapped so many. Managing your expenses is not about punishment. It's about power. Power over your money, power over your choices, and ultimately, power over your destiny. If you don't tell your money where to go, it will vanish. But if you take control, if you decide with clarity and discipline, you will discover something extraordinary. Your income, no matter how small, can become the foundation of wealth. There is one financial habit that separates those who constantly struggle from those who eventually rise above the endless paycheck-to-paycheck cycle. It is deceptively simple, almost too obvious. And yet, it is the cornerstone of every fortune that has ever been built. Paying yourself first. Most people receive their paycheck and immediately start subtracting rent, utilities, bills, food, entertainment. Only after everything has been paid do they stop and look at what's left. But usually, by then, nothing is left at all. Pattern repeats month after month, year after year, until decades slip away and nothing meaningful has been saved. Think of it this way. Imagine a farmer who harvests his field. He eats or sells every seed without reserving some for planting. What will happen next season? His land will remain barren, and he will have destroyed his future before it even arrived. Yet this is exactly what most people do with their salaries. They consume everything today and wonder why tomorrow never gets better. Paying yourself first is the discipline of planting those seeds before you consume the rest. It is the act of saying, my future matters just as much, if not more, than my present. This habit is not about how much money you have. Even the smallest amount, consistently reserved, has power. If you wait until you earn more to start saving, you will never begin. Because as income rises, so do expenses, and the illusion of waiting for the right time becomes a lifelong excuse. The truth is, the right time is always now. Begin with 5% if 10% feels impossible. Begin with even less if necessary. What matters is not the number, but the principle, the ritual of honoring your future with every paycheck, over time. This habit compounds into something far greater than you can imagine. The easiest way to succeed is to remove temptation. Relying on willpower alone is dangerous because human desire will always find ways to spend what is visible. That's why automation is so powerful. Set up a system where a fixed portion of your salary is transferred to a separate account. The moment you are paid, treat this as a non-negotiable expense, just like rent or electricity. When saving becomes automatic, it becomes effortless. You no longer ask yourself whether to save, you simply do. But what should this reserved money be used for? It has three purposes, each equally important. The first is an emergency fund, a shield against the storms of life. Illness, job loss, unexpected repairs. These are not questions of if, but when. An emergency fund, ideally worth 6 months of expenses, is the foundation that prevents crisis from destroying years of progress. The second purpose is investment. Money that sits idle loses value over time, but money that is placed into productive assets, bonds, real estate, or businesses begins to work for you, creating returns that multiply your effort. The third is future projects. Dreams that require capital, starting a business, buying a home, or funding education. By assigning your savings to these categories, you give every dollar a mission. Paying yourself first changes more than your bank balance. It changes your identity. Each time you set aside that portion, you affirm to yourself, I am a builder, not just a consumer. I value tomorrow enough to sacrifice a little today. This shift creates a sense of control and confidence that spills into every area of life. You no longer feel helpless, waiting for the next paycheck to determine your fate. Instead, you become the architect of your future. Consider this: even the wealthiest fortunes started with small, disciplined acts. A few dollars put aside consistently grew into assets that eventually produced freedom, and freedom is the ultimate reward. When your savings grow, when your investments begin to generate income, you realize that money is no longer something you chase, it is something that works for you. This is the turning point where financial independence begins. So ask yourself, are you consuming all of your seeds, or are you planting them? The habit may feel small, almost insignificant at first, but over time, it is the difference between being trapped in scarcity or walking into abundance. Pay yourself first, every single time. Do not wait for a better moment. Do not wait for a bigger paycheck. The moment you start honoring this principle, you begin rewriting your financial destiny. Debt is one of the most seductive traps in modern life. It often begins innocently, even quietly, with the promise of convenience. A small swipe of the credit card here, an installment plan there, and suddenly life feels more comfortable, more attainable. Stores whisper offers of buy now, pay later, and banks lure you with credit lines that seem like a gift. At first, the weight of debt feels light, almost invisible. But as months pass and interest begins to grow, what once seemed harmless transforms into chains that tighten around your financial future. Debt is not just numbers on a statement. It is borrowed time, borrowed freedom, and borrowed peace of mind. What many people fail to realize is that debt is not neutral. It is rarely still. Like quicksand, it deepens with every step you take. Interest is relentless. A small balance left unpaid can double, triple, or even spiral out of control in just a few years. And while you work harder, longer hours, believing you are moving forward, the truth is that part of your energy, part of your life, is already owned by someone else. Every month you pay interest is a month in which your money is working against you instead of for you. This is why unnecessary debt is one of the greatest enemies of wealth creation. The tragedy is that most debt is not even born out of necessity, but out of impatience and impulse. We live in a culture that glorifies instant gratification. Phones, cars, clothes, vacations, all available at the click of a button. The illusion of easy installments convinces us we are spending little, but in reality, we are mortgaging our future for fleeting pleasures today. Each time you borrow to satisfy a desire rather than a need, you are pulling money from your tomorrow and handing it over to your past. And when tomorrow finally arrives, it brings with it nothing but obligation. This does not mean all debt is inherently evil. There is a profound difference between debt that enslaves and debt that empowers. Borrowing to invest in education that increases your earning power, or taking a loan to start a business that generates income, can be strategic when managed carefully. These forms of debt are seeds that, if planted with wisdom, can yield harvests greater than the cost of borrowing. But debt for luxuries, for short-term thrills, or to maintain appearances is poison. It consumes without creating, leaving only regret in its wake. So how do you break free from this cycle? The first step is awareness. Stop believing that carrying debt is normal or inevitable. It is not. It is a choice. and it is one you can choose to stop making. The second step is discipline. Whenever you are tempted by credit offers or installment plans, pause and ask yourself, do I truly need this right now? Will this purchase bring lasting value, or will it become just another forgotten item collecting dust while the payments continue? If the answer is no, the strongest financial decision you can make is to wait, to save, and to pay in full when you are ready. There is also an emotional liberation in avoiding unnecessary debt. Paying for something with your own money earned and saved carries a sense of pride and ownership that credit can never give you. It transforms the way you value what you buy. Cash purchases often cost less too, as many sellers reward upfront payment with discounts. But beyond numbers, there is something intangible: freedom. The less debt you carry, the more choices you have. You are no longer bound to monthly obligations that dictate what you can or cannot do with your life. Breaking the habit of debt requires courage in a world that constantly tempts you with more. But every unnecessary debt you refuse is a victory. It is you reclaiming your future piece by piece. And as your burdens lighten, you will discover something extraordinary. The money you once sent away to pay interest can now be redirected to build assets, to create opportunities, to serve you instead of enslaving you. Unnecessary debt is the silent killer of financial dreams. It promises comfort, but delivers chains. To walk the path of wealth and freedom, you must treat debt with the caution it deserves. Use it only when it creates value, never when it merely satisfies desire. Every time you resist the pull of borrowing, you are not denying yourself joy, you are gifting yourself freedom. And freedom, in the end, is worth far more than anything you could buy on credit today. There comes a point when no matter how carefully you save, no matter how disciplined you are with your expenses, you will reach a limit. You can only cut so much. You can only stretch so far. True financial freedom demands more than discipline, it demands growth. To build wealth, you must eventually learn how to expand your income and set your money to work for you. This is not about chasing luck or waiting for miracles. It is about deliberate action, relentless self-improvement, and the courage to step beyond the comfort of what you already know. The first and most powerful way to increase your income is to invest in yourself. Skills are the currency of the modern world, and the more valuable you become, the more doors open for you. Every new skill learned, every certification gained, every hour spent sharpening your craft raises your worth in the marketplace. This does not just mean academic education. It means anything that makes you more effective, more indispensable. A person who constantly improves becomes impossible to ignore. Employers notice, clients notice, and opportunities multiply. In a world that is changing faster than ever, those who stand still are left behind, while those who adapt and grow rise. But it is not enough to simply collect skills. You must learn to position yourself as someone whose absence would be a loss. Companies reward problem solvers, leaders, and innovators. When you deliver results that no one else can, when you take ownership instead of waiting for instructions, you elevate yourself from replaceable to essential. And with that shift comes leverage, the power to negotiate higher pay, the confidence to pursue new positions, the ability to choose instead of settle. Many people spend their lives waiting for a raise that never comes because they never ask, never present their value. To grow your income, you must learn to articulate what you bring to the table and to demand compensation that reflects it. Negotiation is not greed, it is recognition of your worth. Still, there may be limits in the environment you are in. If the company you work for refuses to recognize your value, if the opportunities are capped, then sometimes the boldest step is to walk away. The job market is vast, and often the greatest increases in salary come not from loyalty to a single employer, but from daring to seek a better fit, updating your resume, building a strong professional network, And keeping your eyes open for new roles can transform your financial trajectory. Stagnation is a choice, and so is movement. Yet, income is not only defined by your main job. We live in an era where the possibilities for additional revenue are endless. Freelancing allows you to monetize your skills directly, whether through writing, design, programming, consulting, or countless other services. Digital platforms make it possible to reach clients worldwide without ever leaving your home. Beyond freelancing, there are opportunities in selling products, either by reselling goods or creating your own. Online courses, e-commerce stores, digital content, these are not just trends. They are industries that ordinary people have turned into extraordinary wealth. The key is not to do everything at once, but to experiment, to test, to find what resonates with you and builds momentum. A small side project today, nurtured with consistency, can become a thriving business tomorrow. The important thing is to refuse passivity. Do not wait for the world to hand you more. Create more with your own hands. And then, once you have begun to increase what comes in, you must master the second half of this principle, putting your money to work. Money sitting idle is like an employee who never shows up. It holds potential, but no action. When you invest wisely, every dollar becomes a worker that generates value, even while you sleep. Whether through stocks, real estate, bonds, funds, or entrepreneurial ventures, the goal is the same: to create streams of income that flow, without requiring your constant labor. This is where the true shift occurs. At first, you trade time for money. Then, you trade skills for money. But eventually, you reach the stage where money itself generates more money. This is not reserved for the wealthy. It is built by those who had the courage to start small, to be consistent, and to keep pushing forward. Growing your income and investing it is not easy. It requires effort, vision, and patience. But it is the bridge between survival and freedom. Every hour spent learning, every bold step toward opportunity, every dollar invested instead of wasted brings you closer to a life where money is no longer your master, but your servant. And that life, the life of choice, abundance, and independence, is worth every sacrifice along the way. At the end of this journey, we can see that building wealth is not about sudden luck, overnight miracles, or waiting for a larger paycheck to finally change your life. True wealth is born from perspective, discipline, and consistent action. Your salary, no matter how modest it may seem today, is not just money to be consumed. It is raw material, the foundation upon which you can build freedom. The key is to change the way you see what flows into your account each month. Instead of treating it as something temporary, meant to disappear by the end of the month, you must begin treating it as a tool, a resource that can be multiplied if used with wisdom. The steps are clear. Shift your mindset. Your income is not a ceiling, but an opportunity. Take control of your spending so that money does not leak away unnoticed. Pay yourself first and build the habit of securing your future before satisfying your present. Avoid the traps of unnecessary debt, which chain you to the past and rob you of tomorrow. And finally, never stop looking for ways to expand your income and invest it, so that one day money begins to work for you rather than the other way around. Each of these actions may seem small when viewed in isolation, but together they form a path from survival to security, from security to freedom, and from freedom to abundance. The deeper lesson here is that wealth is not measured only in numbers, but in choices. The ability to choose your work, your time, your experiences, your life, that is true wealth. And that power is built not in some distant future, but in the decisions you make today. Every dollar you spend or save, every impulse you resist or embrace, every skill you learn or ignore, these are the bricks of your financial destiny. The sooner you begin laying them with intention, the sooner you will look back and realize you have built something far greater than money. You have built freedom, So how can you apply this in your life right now? Start small. From your very next paycheck, set aside something, no matter how little, before you spend on anything else. Write down where your money goes so that every expense is made with awareness. Ask yourself before every purchase whether it brings true value. And find one way, however small, to invest in yourself or your future. The transformation will not be instant, but it will be inevitable if you remain consistent. Over time, these choices will compound, and you will discover that wealth is not a distant dream. It is the natural result of living with discipline and vision. Now, I'd love to hear from you. If you had to choose one change to start today, which would it be? Setting aside money before spending, or cutting back on one unnecessary expense? Please share your answer in the comments so we can all learn from each other's perspectives. And if you found value in this message, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Your support gives us the motivation to continue creating powerful content to help you on your journey toward financial freedom.